Hey everybody, Hernke here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm joined with a very special guest, my friend, actress. We worked together on a film called Bermuda Island a year ago.
I know.
A year ago. Her name is Rachelle Henry. Rachelle, thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so
You're
excited
welcome.
to be here with you today for this.
Yeah, we've talked about doing an interview for quite a while, and now we're finally here.
It's finally working out.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about how you got into this crazy industry of ours. What got you started?
I have always been somebody that's been interested in performing. I mean, from the time I was a little girl, always like putting on shows for my family and writing stories and, bringing things to life was always something I was really passionate about. And I originally started in dance. When I was 4 years old, I was very much in love with dance. The film that actually inspired me to do dance was Annie. But it wasn't Annie. I was interested in dancing I wanted to dance like Grace. And I was like, I'm never going to be able to dance like Grace. And my family, when I was old enough, they enrolled me in dance. So when I was 4, I started dance. And I loved it. And I also started doing gymnastics to, be able to do falls and, some tricks to go into dancing. So I did gymnastics too. So I loved performing. But then when I was 6 years old, I eventually wanted to be an actor. And so then that's when we started to doing the classes and more theater and, things like that. But I think more when I really started, even though I started when I was 6 technically, I think when I was 10, that was the big turning point year. Mm-hmm. Because that year I was the lead in a music video that was made in part for a director's competition for, the musician Moby?
Yeah.
Yeah, mm-hmm. It was Moby did this competition. He had 3 songs from his new album that people could pick from, and directors would then shoot a music video, and the winning one would be the official music video.
Oh, cool.
So ours didn't win, but ours was a very good, it's about 2 young homeless girls. They lose their grandma, and then they have to survive a day on the streets. And it's just, capturing a day in the life of what these little girls have to go through. So I played the older girl, and that was a really emotional role. So I did that one that year. I also was an extra in Ira Finkelstein's Christmas. It's also called Switchmas. It had Elliot Gould, David DeLuise, Cynthia Geary. It's a really great little Christmas movie, and it was the first big indie set I was on. And sitting right behind Elliot Gould and David DeLuise was amazing because they both have such immense careers, especially Elliot Gould. He's an Oscar nominee. And I wasn't aware of how famous they were. I just, knew that they both were very talented, and I knew that they were the stars of the movie. But getting to watch them go take after take, making it fresh. Elliot Gould came up with some of the best improv I've ever heard. I still can remember some of the lines he said that didn't make the cut, and they always make me laugh. And then also that year I played Oliver in the musical Oliver. And so I really think that age 10 is kind of when my career started shifting more. And I grew up in Seattle, Washington, and I spent a majority of my career there. So there, it's a really small indie market. Mm-hmm. They only are just now starting to get more TV. It's not a SAG town. It's very much, indie and, working on your friends' projects with the occasional, 1 or 2 TV series or big features that comes in.
Right.
Because the tax incentive is really low there. Mm-hmm. And I've gone and I rallied at the Capitol many years, trying to, get more film incentives. I've talked to legislators, stating my case as to why film is really important for Washington's economy. But I was really grateful to grow up in a smaller area. I mean, Seattle's big, but in terms of a film industry, it's considered relatively small. I was really grateful to grow up there because that really gave me the opportunity to be mentored in multiple aspects of film, to have really great opportunities to work on so many sets, and to have the experience of building a family within the film community. And that's really helped me in many ways transferring over to a bigger market like LA. But when I was 10, of course, that kind of launched that soon I started meeting, so many different filmmakers in the area. And around that time, there was so many different film panels and different events, and they were talking about, we need to mentor the next generation. And so there I am, this young little actress who is just coming up into the, and they're like, so many different filmmakers are, looking at me and thinking, okay, I can work with her, and, I can help her. And I started doing multiple classes. And what's interesting is now Seattle has more classes that are geared toward younger actors. But at the time, there wasn't very many. A lot of it was either theater, or there'd be occasional classes for youth, but it really was just basics. It wasn't anything that was going to strengthen my craft, and it wasn't anything that was going to make me deeper as an actor. So I had to start, begging to, audit master classes, asking, can I please, sit in? And there'd be so many times where the teachers would have me in a class with adults, and they'd be like, all right, guys, she's a kid, so, and I'd be like, no, don't worry about the swearing. just, my family was just like, go ahead and do the scene, she's fine. Because I was just there to learn the craft, Right. I knew that they were acting, was fine with that. But I was very lucky that I was given those opportunities. And I would even, at one point, go down to Portland, Oregon multiple times a week for classes, because they did have one that was geared around teens. So my education as an actor was very much multiple coaches in different areas, and actually gaining like set experience as well, which was really great. I've had so many great teachers, like John Jacobson in Seattle. He teaches at UW, and he founded the film school along with Tom Skerritt, Warren Etheridge. He was my mentor. Still love John, and every single day I think about the different lessons he's taught me. Not a day that goes by where I don't have a John Jacobson quote in my head. And so I constantly, like, even yesterday I was thinking like, oh, John, blah, 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 blah. And then Angela DeMarco and David Hogan of Mighty Tripod Productions, they were wonderful. Love them. And then, of course, all the different classes I would do around those areas, and eventually migrating more toward LA. That started when I was about almost 15. I was 14, almost 15 when I started coming down to LA more. And I was still going back and forth from LA to Seattle quite often. But I didn't really land here full time until the pandemic, like right around the pandemic. Because I was supposed to go back home, and work on some stuff and visit friends and family, but then lockdown happened. So then that's kind of locked me in being here. But it was really great, because then I got the opportunity to work on some projects I wouldn't have been able to had I still been going back and forth. So it's an interesting mixed bag, and I'm very lucky for my journey and how it's gone. It's very unorthodox, but I wouldn't be where I'm at, and I don't think I'd be as happy with my journey if it was as linear, because I wouldn't have met certain people. I wouldn't have gotten certain roles, certain opportunities, had it not gone the way that it has. So I'm really grateful that it may seem unorthodox, but it's my journey, and I'm really happy, and I'm really grateful for that's the way that it turned out.
That's awesome. From what it sounds like, you've had a very, very busy childhood into where you are now. Because other people I've talked to, I say, how did you get started? I did this, and then I moved out here. And that's all I hear. You provided so much information, and I can tell from what you've told me, you take your career very, very seriously, and you're not going to give up. You're going to keep on striving for it, and that's what I tell people when they move out here. I've been out here for 20 years. You can't just, move out here for a couple months and hopefully something happens. Like, you have to really be into it, and you started at a young age, just like I did, and that's awesome. You just got to keep plugging away.
I think that when you start at a young age, of course, then you really can see it from a different perspective than when you move out as an adult and do it. It's really interesting, talking the difference between people that started older, and there are so many actors that have been successful starting older, But it's interesting hearing, because a lot of my friends are, I have a mix of friends that are started as children or started older in life. And it's interesting hearing what inspired the people older in life to start acting. And with kids, it's really different. So it's interesting to hear. It's also interesting because sometimes I've noticed that sometimes people that I started acting with, then quit once they get older. They're like, oh, I'm going to go to college, and which I did go to college, and it was not for acting. I graduated with a degree in marketing in June, which actually surprised a lot of people, because a lot of people expected me to get a degree in either film or theater or drama. So it was interesting when I told people, yeah, I got it in marketing. They're like, oh wow, I thought you were gonna go to art school.
But that skill is going to be very helpful for you in your career.
Exactly. That's one of the reasons why I picked it, is because it is something that I want to tie in to the entertainment industry. And I consider myself not only an actor and a filmmaker, but I also consider myself a businesswoman and an entrepreneur in this, because the film industry is a business, and I think sometimes actors lose sight of that because we want to be so busy with the art, the art, and it's very important to have the art and the craft in there. But if you don't understand the business side, there's so many things that are going to get lost, and there's so many opportunities you may lose, and decisions that might not be made in the best way if you don't understand the business side of it.
Yeah.
Which is why I originally was going to go for a business degree. My business classes had marketing in there, and I realized, I prefer marketing itself, but it still is technically in the business degree realm. So I was really glad that I got a degree that was outside of the film industry, but also still does work with it.
Yeah, still relevant.
Oh yeah, I'm very grateful for that.
So do you live in LA, or do you jump back and forth between Seattle and LA?
I would say now I'm in LA full time, just because the last 3 years has really been only here. I haven't been back up to Seattle since then. I really want to go back up. There's been multiple opportunities where I've almost gone back up, and then boom, something will happen. I'll get cast, or this thing will happen, and you're like, I can't go back up right now. One of the things was in June, I was supposed to work on a project. Wasn't able to because it didn't go union, which was really heartbreaking because I worked very hard on that role, and I was really emotionally connected to that role, and it just was hard to let go of that one. But then I was like, oh, great, I can go and fill that void and that sadness by attending my college graduation. Then something even better happened. When I was in the middle of, finishing up school, wrapping that up, I got an audition, and I was very excited when I saw that it was going to film in Tulum, Mexico. And then, like 2-3 weeks later, I'm cast, flown out to Tulum, Mexico. And so I watched my college graduation on a live stream in the makeup trailer. I was just watching there. I was cheering my friends. I was like, yeah! Cheering them on. It was very interesting to watch, my graduation, in a foreign country on set at work.
Yeah.
And part of me is like, I wish I could have gone. But it's like, if I had gone, I wouldn't have gotten to film on an Apple TV series in Mexico, in Tulum of all places.
Yeah.
So, things just work out in random ways.
Yep. Yeah, it's, one door closed, another one will open, and maybe the next one that opens up will be a lot bigger.
Exactly. You never know.
Is it the show that you did for Apple TV? Are you allowed to say anything about it?
I am now.
Yeah, okay, all right.
So it's called The Mosquito Coast. It is a series starring Justin Theroux. It's actually based on a book that Justin Theroux's uncle, Paul Theroux, wrote. And that book was written in the 80s, and it was later adapted into a feature film with Harrison Ford, Helen Mirren, and River Phoenix. I can't remember what year it was. But then last year, Apple released it as a series with Justin, and it's a great series. It's a very heavy, dark drama adventure series. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's a dark adventure drama, and it is a really well-made series. and I was really fortunate to be cast and brought onto the show. It's interesting because the series, when you watch it, it's a dark family drama, but it also has ties in with like the cartel, and there's all this epic, action going on. And then my character, I can't really say everything about her yet, but Annie is very different from anything you've seen on the show so far. And even the wardrobe ladies, when I was on set, the sweetest ladies ever. I loved every single day I would go and work with them. Because they would call me up and they'd be like, oh, can you come in for a wardrobe test today? We got some new outfits. Or, oh, we custom made this for you. Can you come in? And so I'd go in and they would, try the pieces on me. And they're like, we are so excited because nobody gets to wear color on this series. It's always older men. And everyone's wearing, darker colors. And so I'm wearing like bright pink and orange and blue, and I actually had to have my hair done up in like these little fun hairstyles, and I was wearing makeup, and it was a very big contrast to anything you've seen on the show. Which I'm excited that my character's so different, because it really will be a contrast, and I think that it'll be a moment of levity for people in a way that will be really refreshing. So I'm really excited to have that. So my episodes come out on December 30th and January 6th on Apple TV. They're coming out weekly. They started coming out on November 4th.
Oh, cool. So yeah, it's fresh now, so.
Yeah, I'm
That's
so excited.
Awesome.
Filming in Tulum was an absolute dream, and the Mexican cast and crew were just beyond incredible. And I got to meet the showrunner of the series. He was wonderful, and the director that I worked with, he was a dream. He was an actor's dream to work with. He gave us so much reign to work with, and then anytime he'd give a note, he would want us to play around with that, and then he'd be like, oh, no, okay, let's go back to the other thing. And we just had so much fun jumping between them. And he would throw out ideas, and he would ask us, okay, so what do you want to try with this? Or what do you envision right here? And he's like, how about we do this? Is that okay? And you're like, of course, anything, I'll try. I'll try whatever you're envisioning. And it's so interesting. I can't wait to see what take they pick, because I can remember in my mind everything we tried, but I'm interested to see what Apple TV decides to use for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love working with directors like that aren't like, do this how it's written by the book, like, do it maybe one time, but then the other times you get to have like improvisation and play around with it how you feel that you want to interpret it, and then they allow that. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Again, I can't say much about specifics, but there was a few times where the scenes we would get rewrites overnight. We would get rewrites on everything. So, I wasn't married to the script. They didn't want us to be, because they were going to change it. Even on set, they changed multiple scenes. One day, I had a scene that just looked like it was going to be a really small interaction, and it just seemed very like, they do this, and they're done. I show up on set. I'd already filmed a different scene that day, so they took me back. They rented out a hotel room, not the one we were staying in, a different hotel where we were filming at, and they rented out this like president's suite for us to just sit in between takes.
Yeah.
And I was
green
like,
room, right?
Yeah, well,
like
it was like, yeah, it was kind of like a green room, except like had, massive bed, multiple TVs, mini bar. It was like a dream hotel room. And, I was just sitting there. I didn't want to like touch anything because I didn't want to like get it ruined.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to stay in here for like, 2 hours. Great. But, like, I was in there, they came in and did hair and makeup when we were in there, and we had base camp, but base camp was about, like, a 10-15 minute drive away from the resort we were filming at, so, of course, couldn't go back there, so they would do our hair and makeup on set if it was one of those scenes, and I go on set, and the scene is just, I can't describe it right now, of course, but let's just say everything was heightened at a level I was not expecting. So many other elements were going on. So much was happening. They were like, all right, so in this scene, you're going to do this. You're going to walk over here. You're going to have this interaction. You're going to look over there, go over there. Then you're going to have an interaction about this. And while you're there, can you do this action? And I was like, awesome. This really just took it, because it was a small little scene.
Yeah.
And it was elevated completely into something else. And I was so excited. It happened multiple times. And I was very grateful that it worked out like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, little things like that, when they throw all those changes at you, you really have to learn how to play ball and roll with it, because I know some people are like, oh my god, I got all these rewrites, I have to memorize that now. So having stuff like that happen is really good. It's still very good training.
Yes.
And it's good prep for the next project that comes up, because one day you might be on an Avengers movie or something where they have lots of changes happening there too, and that's pressure, but you learn to roll with it. So
right. You have to keep your mind fresh with it. And it's interesting because the two scenes I had for the audition are very different but very similar to the scenes I ended up doing it's hard to describe because all the dialogue was completely different. The circumstances were completely different, but the interactions themselves were in the same vein. So it was easy to tap into that. And originally I auditioned for, because it's these two best friends. I'm one of them in the scene, or my scenes, because I'm in 2 episodes. But our characters are kind of a duo, you see, and they befriend the main daughter in the series, played by Logan Polish. And so they meet her, and I originally auditioned for the other friend, but I learned that they wanted the personality I brought to it for the other character. So I didn't have to re-audition. They just were like, oh, would you be interested in playing Annie instead? And I'm like, of course. Because Annie's a great character, too. And Annie says and does some stuff that's not politically correct. And she thinks she is. She thinks she's being a very woke advocate. But... So it was fun reading my lines going, oh, Annie. I love that character.
That's all. It's cool when you get married to a character. Sometimes it's really hard to just like, this is my last day. Gotta let it go.
Oh my gosh! I found out on set it was gonna be my last day, because one of the actors that I had scenes with ended up getting COVID, and because we were on such a strict schedule, they couldn't shift things around, and you really had to see that character and my character interact in order to justify some of the other scenes that were written. So they had to completely rewrite the finale episode because of it.
Oh, no.
And that meant that they had to cut back what I did a lot. I'm still in both episodes quite a bit, but I would have been in almost every scene of the finale had it gone the way that it originally was. So I was on set, and I had just filmed a scene, and they go, all right, so you're going to be flying out tomorrow. And I was like, what? And eventually we negotiated, so I had like 2 more days before I had to fly out. Because it would have been weird to fly out on the day of the week that it was. And also I was like, I haven't gotten to really explore Mexico. Because I was diligent about, following their rules of like making sure I didn't get COVID, making sure I didn't get sunburned. Because they would test us 3 to 4 times a week to make sure. They would sometimes surprise us with a test, like, oh, you need to do a COVID test today. So I made sure I was clean bill of health, staying healthy. They would call me up randomly for hair and makeup tests. So I made sure I was close. I was at the hotel or in that area at all times. So if they call me up, I can go over there. Right, so I only got 1 day of Mexican travel, really, and that was my last full day in Mexico. No complaints. It was the best tour I've ever gone on. But I was really glad I was given that extra day. But it was sad being told, okay, so because of the rewrites, we're going to have to change that. So they're like, but stay on set. We might have something else for you to do. The writer and the director came up to me and they said, all right, so I know we had to rewrite it because logistically we can't change that around. Would you be okay if we added you in 2 other scenes? And I'm like, yes, of course. And so then I was added into 2 other scenes. And it was great because I felt like the character did need a way to wrap it up for that. I'm not going to say closure because if there is like a season 3, they could potentially bring me back. They left it open-ended. But to give that character, a little like bow on the top for that episode, wrap it up. Because otherwise it would have been, you see the character, And then you don't see her again for the rest of the episode. So it was a nice way to tie it all together. And I felt like it really brought another side to Annie as well. Because it was a complete contrast to what you'd seen originally. And so it did show that Annie is a multi-layered character, and I was really excited about that.
Awesome! I look forward to seeing it.
I'm so excited.
I'm sure that you're going to post a lot of clips on
oh my gosh,
your Facebook and social media. So
I have so many behind the scenes photos that I am dying to share.
Oh yeah, you have to wait until the episode comes out before, and then you can release them, right?
Right. It's I've been able to post a few. I'm not supposed to show like all my wardrobe. Not supposed to give anything away about the scenes. Like, I can't post what I was wearing for my first scene because it's very evident what that scene is, like, where my character is. It's going to be very evident. So, of course, having to keep those kind of things under wraps. But I've posted one outfit I wore in it. So now people have seen what I'm wearing in... Is that what I wear in the finale? I think it's what I wear in the finale. So, now you can see one of the outfits I wore in there.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I look forward to seeing it.
Thank you. I'm super excited about it. It was a complete dream to film that.
Sweet. I know the little moments like that you'll never forget, you know?
No, and I had those kind of moments too with filming Dead to Me, which is coming out on November 17th, which has Christine Applegate and Linda Cardellini and James Marsden. And I've been a fan of that show since it came out. So getting to be in the last season was a dream come true. I've always loved all three of their works. I mean, Christina Applegate, I've always loved her. Linda Cardellini, I've loved her, since Freaks and Geeks, but also with Bloodline. And James Marsden, my favorite movie as a little girl was Enchanted. So being in the same TV series as Prince Edward was a complete dream for me. I didn't get to meet him, but, still getting to, be able to say, oh, I was in the same series as him was a great moment. But I had a really great time working with Christina, and I got to meet Liz Feldman, the showrunner. And I've always admired Liz's writing. And so getting to meet her was just, it's amazing when you get to meet people you've admired for so long, and they are everything and more than you imagined. And they're such sweet, down-to-earth people. Christina Applegate is such a sweetheart. And so getting to have a scene with her was just amazing. I'll never forget my, interactions with them. It was amazing.
When does that come out?
November 17th.
November 17th. And what channel is it on?
Netflix.
Netflix. Okay. All right, yeah.
Have you seen it?
I have not seen it.
It's so good.
How many seasons is it?
This is going to be season 3.
Okay.
So
right.
It definitely have to binge the first 2 seasons to understand what's
going on.
Because I've talked to a few people who have only seen snippets, and they're like, okay, I'm really confused. Why is James Marsden characters doing this? Why are Christina and Linda talking about this? And you're like, I can't tell you. You need to watch. So, especially now with it coming to the conclusion of the series, all those pieces are very important. It's technically a dark comedy. It's dramatic, but it's about these 2 ladies who are both going through grief and the unconventional friendship they have. And then some really random, scary things happen to both of them, which bonds them even closer. So it's a great series. I absolutely love it.
Right on. November 17th, people, right before Thanksgiving.
I know, I'm so
check
excited.
it out. And I'm sure you'll post the clips too.
Oh, yeah.
All over the place.
I had to keep that one a secret for over a year. Probably a year and a half. Because I had the audition May of 2021, cast in June of 2021, but then we didn't start filming until November of 2021, or a few days before Thanksgiving. And then I've had to keep it completely silent until they announced the release date. Now I can talk about it. They announced the release date back in late September of 2022.
Okay.
So now I can talk about it.
Yeah.
But I had to keep that secret for so long.
So you are a very busy girl, from what I've been learning. And do you have any projects that are coming up that are happening this year or into next year?
Well, I do have two other projects that are going to be releasing. Bermuda Island, which we're both in. That one's coming out in January. And then I have the film Martingale, which I filmed in... Part of it was in 2019, part of it was in 2020. I filmed that. It is a crime drama thriller starring Kelly Sullivan, William Shockley, Konstantin Melikov, amazing actors. I've seen the film now. It is incredible. That one should be coming out sometime in 2023. I play Kelly Sullivan's daughter. Kelly Sullivan, if you don't know, she's from Young and the Restless and General Hospital. Great actress. And I play her daughter in the movie. And my character is kind of the catalyst for the film because the film revolves around the loss of Kelly's daughter, my character, and Kelly's trying to get revenge for my death. And so you do see multiple flashbacks in multiple moments with my character. The very opening shot of the film is my character's death, which was very interesting to film. I filmed multiple death scenes before. I wouldn't say this is the most challenging one I've done, but it definitely was difficult, given the circumstances of how my character died and everything going on around it. But I was very proud of it when I saw it on screen. So, and then I have, other things I can't talk about, stuff that my agent and manager and I are very excited about. And I also am writing some projects with a writing partner. I cannot say anything about those, but I do think that I think that there's some good things that are going to be happening with those.
And all into next year, right?
Yeah. It would all be next year. I mean, if certain things work out, some of them might go a little bit longer, too, as well. But, yeah, this year and 2023 and continuing on.
Well, I hope to work with you again.
Yeah, it would be great.
On Bermuda Island, it was 3 days of absolute insanity filming 70 cast members, right? 22, 23 pages in one day. But one thing I noticed when I was working with you is you had such bright energy on set. You were always smiling, and you were talking to people and being friendly. And it's just like, that's what that's all about. It's positive people working together and trying to make the best product possible, and your energy was just radiant on set.
Thank
and
you.
It even showed, like, the little snippet that you have in the trailer, like, it's there.
Thank
and
you.
You did such a good job, and I look forward to seeing the stewardess role.
Yes.
Right? I was an air marshal, so I think we were on the plane like a couple times together when things were starting to go really, really crazy on the plane.
It was interesting. It was interesting, that one. And I completely agree, because I view, when you're on a set with people, not only being professional, because it is a job, but also that is your film family for a few days. That's who you're going to be spending all those hours with. That's who you're telling their story with. Those are the fellow creators you're creating with, and potential future collaborators and friends.
Yeah.
So, trying to, I just like connecting with people. And so, and like connecting with you and connecting with numerous other cast and crew members, you want to build those friendships. And even, because there's so many, cast and crew members I met on there who now, just going and hanging out with now. It's amazing, all those friendships you can make. What was interesting, though, about that role was my friend Dave Schechter. Shout out to Dave, who I've known.
Oh, yeah.
Who I've known. I've known Dave for probably almost a decade.
Yeah.
He's played my dad in so many projects.
And I knew the Mahals were going to cast him as the pilot. Like, just, he has that look
He does.
Of pilot. And
Yeah,
it's like,
he nailed it.
He did. In the trailer, it's...
I'm like, no, Dave, don't crash. But Dave, he and I have been friends for so long, and he was like, hey, do you want to just come and hang out? Maybe be a cameo. I show up fully expecting just to be a cameo, and eventually I was brought on just as a role, completely just made a character, and I was just given more lines, completely just like, all right, can you do this now? Can you do that? And I'm like, great. Sure, yeah, I'm here for the next 3 days, of course. And it was really a fun experience. It's also, when I think about it, it's the first time I'm playing an adult. in a film, because everything else I've played a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm still playing teenagers, and I still want to play a teenager for a while because I still look young. A lot of people will guess I'm, still a teenager. That's great. They're not too far off. I'm only 21. But, it's interesting getting to play a character, that's an adult with an occupation and is working in a stressful career. So that was really fun getting to do that. And I had multiple of my Washington film family there. It was a fun little community, and it was fun getting to meet more people like you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very excited to see how it turns out. And Adam Worth, the director, is incredible. Shout out to Adam. His direction, the way Adam gives direction, I completely adore. He is another dream director to work with, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to work with him again. And of course, just the whole group I was really glad to connect with and get to spend 3 days on a fake airplane with. It was fun. And I also got the opportunity, when I was added to more scenes, getting to act with Noel G and Tom Sizemore, getting to have scenes with them that I didn't expect to have, because I was just there to hang out and be there. Because, David had been like, hey, do you want to be a flight attendant for one of the days? And, you and I could be on the airplane and maybe have a scene. And then completely blew up to my character being the stewardess that has to keep everyone calm during a scary moment. During
the severe turbulence. Oh, yeah.
Ray is here to keep you all calm and to make sure you're all safe and buckled in, and I felt like Ray was the flight attendant who was the one that had to be the one, like, all right, we have to do this, keep calm, make sure your seatbelts are fastened. She had to be the one that was keeping everyone grounded, or else everyone would freak out.
Yeah.
So I felt like, which I was kind of given free reign of, like, how do you want your character to react? And I thought, okay, she's going to take this responsibility. The whole movie, the whole time you've seen her, she's taking on responsibilities that originally weren't hers. And I'm like, okay, she's going to, gear up for this scary event, and she's going to take control, and she is going to do the best she can to ensure everyone's safety. Yeah. And so I really loved getting to create Ray. That's her name, is Ray.
Ray, love it. I can't wait to see it. Hopefully they'll do a screening of it in January.
I know, I hope so.
Yeah,
I would love to see it.
Every screening that the Mahals do, I'm going to be missing the Tommyknockers screening.
I'm missing Tommyknockers too.
Yeah, I'm like, my friend's wedding is that day, so I gotta go out. I'm
gonna be in New York that day, so
oh.
So I have multiple things because I'm getting to present at the Sophie Awards, Short Film Awards in New York. And so many friends are having things going on while I'm gone. I'm like...
Yeah, it's Murphy's Law.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, thank you so much for talking about your career.
Thank you for having me.
And in closing, what would you like to tell the audience that, anybody that's out there that's watching, like, I want to get in the business. I want to become an actor, actress, singer, dancer, flight attendant.
any of those careers.
Yeah, any of those careers. So, feel free to tell the audience any advice that you have for them.
Of course. And I feel like this applies to any career path that you're in. The very first piece of advice I was ever given, the first audition I went to when I was really little, and I was told, if you want to do this as a career, you're going to have to work very hard for a long time. And that applies to every single career path. You have to keep training. Football players are constantly training. Doctors have years of med school. There's so many different career paths where you have to keep learning, keep working hard at it. But you also have to love what you're doing. And you have to still find that passion. And you have to still be willing to work with others, learn from others, and build those relationships. But of course, working hard for a very long time is something that has always stuck with me, and that has been my motto since day one. So if you're wanting to become an actor, I definitely recommend taking the steps to research good coaches, getting good materials in place, and just work hard and continue at it every day, even if it's a little step.
Very well said, Rachelle.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate it. The links for her work will be below. Check it out. Follow her on social media, Instagram, Facebook. Are you on YouTube as well?
I am, yes.
Yep, YouTube. All that will be in the description below. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and also hit the notification button below for more interviews, more stuff coming up. Rachelle, thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Always a pleasure. This is Hernke signing out.
Bye.